Jesus! Christ the Lord is born.
Danny DeVito. Matthew Broderick.
I like the way you've duct taped the antlers to their heads. Whoa.
In the brightest Christmas story ever.
I didn't see that coming. Oh, that could have ended badly.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another Christmas review. Today's review is for the 2006 Christmas film Deck the Halls, a film that is directed by John Whitesell and it stars Matthew Broderick, Danny DeVito and Kristen Davis. Now this film focuses on two neighbours, Matthew Broderick's character Steve and Danny DeVito's character Buddy. Now Matthew Broderick's character Steve has been known as Mr. Christmas in the neighbourhood for quite a few years. He organises the choirs, all this kind of stuff, and he's a little bit too organised when it comes to Christmas, and he kind of forgets the real true meaning of Christmas. It's all a bit planned and organised. And then leading up to Christmas this particular year, he gets a new neighbour across the way, Danny DeVito's family, and initially things are okay between them, and then Danny DeVito, once he realises that his house can't be seen from like a Google Earth type app, I suppose, as is shown by his daughters, he decides he wants to do something like that, do something about that, because he wants to be seen from space. So he's on a mission basically of blinging up his house to astronomical Christmas levels in order to it be so bright that it can't be missed from space. However, this causes friction along the way, as Matthew Broderick has always been known as Mr. Christmas, plus the fact it's very distracting having a house across you that you can't sleep because the lights are so bright. So a rivalry starts between them that continues throughout the film. Right, what are my thoughts on Deck the Halls? Well, I've never seen this film before. I knew it wasn't particularly well reviewed when it first came out, but it's on Netflix right now. And I was flicking through the other night and we had a couple of hours until something was coming on the TV that I wanted to watch. There was nothing else on TV, so I thought, oh, do you know what, I'll put this on, a bit of a Christmas film, it's not going to harm. And while this film is certainly not going to go down in the annals of my favourite Christmas films of all time, well, it's just not, because it's not brilliant actually. It was okay watch for a couple of hours, you know. Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito are two actors that I respect greatly. Matthew Broderick obviously is of legendary status from Ferris Bueller, and Danny DeVito rarely do no wrong anyway. So in regards to the casting here, I genuinely don't have an issue. I thought they played the parts well. It's just, I don't know. It almost feels like an excuse to do a Christmas film, this film, because the story is so weak, in a sense of the only reason that Danny DeVito's character is doing what he's doing, for the most part, is to be seen. He doesn't want to be, you know, he wants to be noticed. And now, it doesn't really play on the fact that he's short and small. It doesn't play on the fact that, you know, could have been ignored his whole professional or personal life, you know what I mean? In actual fact, he's a very talented salesman and he can sell cars at a drop of a hat, and he's quite a confident person. So it doesn't seem to fit the fact that he wants his house to be seen from space, other than the fact that his daughter's pointed it out on like a Google Earth type app that they can't see their house from space, but they can see the neighbours. And the rivalry at that point was, you know, there wasn't a rivalry between him and Matthew Broderick. So I just couldn't get my head around the fact that this was his main motivation for turning his house into an abomination, a Christmas abomination, because it looked horrific. It made Chevy Chase's in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation look like a candle in comparison. You know what I mean? There was just the motivation I just didn't buy. And then the rivalry between them was a bit tame, I suppose you could argue, you know, and there wasn't a whole huge amount of chuckles. There were some occasional moments where they were both kind of shouting at these attractive girls that were dancing on a stage, and then when the girls turn around, it happens to be their daughters. That was an amusing moment. There's a couple of slapstick moments that you'll kind of smile at, I suppose. But for the most part, it's all a little bit tame, this film. However, it's a Christmas film. And Christmas films, I suppose, aren't supposed to be, you know, overly gritty and particularly grounded. It's just an excuse, like, to give us a nice little festive film. And that's essentially all you're getting here. You're not going to get much more than a pretty predictable, pretty generic Christmas film with two neighbours having a rivalry in regards to, you know, who's going to be Mr. Christmas, I suppose. So it's watchable. It's, you know, an hour and a half that you can pass on Netflix. It's not abysmally bad or anything like that. But it is certainly, like I say, it's not. Well, I know it's not regarded as a Christmas classic. It's been out long enough now to gather some kind of following. And whenever you ever say to somebody, you know, what's your favourite Christmas film? Nobody ever says Deck the Halls with Matthew Broderick and Danny DeVito, and that's for good reason, because it's not a particularly good Christmas film, but it is certainly a watchable Christmas film if you want to put something on in the background while you're wrapping presents, or, you know, you're writing some Christmas cards and you want a nice little gentle Christmas film. Then you could certainly do far worse than this one. I didn't really dislike the film, it just wasn't what you would call a memorable Christmas film. So I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Yes, it's not great, but it's not terrible either at the same time. So if you've got Netflix, you could check it out on there right now, if you've never seen it before. And thank you very much for watching. Loads more Christmas content coming up on the channel, so I will see you back with plenty more content very, very soon.